This is Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextrous Gunfighter. Had a Weaver Grand Slam on my Tika T1X during some testing, and it broke. Basically, the zero changed when you switch from full magnification to low magnification. Changed the point of impact by 15 minutes of angle. So anyway, just as I went looking to see if there's any warranty coverage left on it, and turned out that Bushnell bought out the Weaver line, and so I contacted them, and they actually sent me a replacement Optic. It's their R5 series, and I went with the 6-18 with the 50 objective, and it looks like a cheaper, low end, but decent looking Optic. Anyway, so some things I've run into. I wanted to mount it on the Victor Faxon 1022 project, and I happen to have some 1-inch rings made by Loophole, the aluminum rings, really nice rings that I've never used, and so they're just almost just the perfect height. You can see that the objective clears with abundance, clears the barrel, and then just a thin sheet of paper or this card here can just barely fit the eyepiece. However, these knurled knobs for the magnification swing throw are hitting into the pick rail. So that's where I wish we had the pick rail had the scallop cuts on the this integral pick rail with the Faxon receiver. I wish it had scallop cuts so that would clear. Or I wish the magnification ring serrations were inset or the same outside diameter as the eyepiece. Because right now they're about maybe a half a millimeter beyond the eyepiece. So if they were with the same diameter as the eyepiece or a little bit less, I wouldn't have that clearance issue. Other option would be, of course, go with higher rings, but I really hate to do that. This looks just about perfect. Option we go higher rings, or to actually grind out on those two slots in the pick rail to clear that magnification. Now, also, I wish I had another slot forward. I need about one more slot really to get this far enough forward, and that's for a proper Project Appleseed turkey neck cheek weld. This has I think it's almost a 4-inch eye relief. So I really almost need one more slot. This is right all the way out, and I've got this ring not up where the just enough clearance here to be proper, but I'd rather have it one more slot forwards. So the reason for the turkey neck cheek weld, why do we keep doing that? If you were using this with a bipod, you're getting more behind the rifle. This it's fine. You're not probably going to be doing too much of a turkey neck cheek weld, but the turkey neck cheek weld is part of your consistency, repeatability, or accuracy. And then if you're shooting a more powerful cartridge, this 22 LR that has some recoil, by doing the turkey neck cheek weld, that position puts your head on the stock so that your head will recoil with the rifle and not get scope bite. I have another whole video on that. I'll throw a link in the description to that about why the whole thing of why doing the turkey neck cheek weld. So anyway, since this is a Project Appleseed rimfire known distance project, I definitely want to do a proper full turkey neck cheek weld using the sling for shooter's aid, and then try to use this scope. I haven't yet decided. Am I going to grind that out? It would be the advantage of a receiver that did not have the integral pick rails. I could swap it out for a pick rail that had the scallop cuts on it. And another advantage of having that option of a receiver that doesn't have the integral pick rails, you can also change the angle of the rails. You have a 10, 20, or 30, or 40 degree or 40 minute of angle rail to actually point down a little bit to raise up the barrel a little bit, but with respect to the sighting system. So anyway, haven't yet decided. I guess I'm gonna probably just, if I can figure out a way to get a clean Dremel in there and just drop those down about a 1/2 millimeter, and I should be good with that. These the turn loose, they're just close. Another thing is I could have shifted it back and had the pick rail slot fit right up in here, the notch fit right up in there, and it does fit in there. Or if I shift it back a little bit, that notch will fit up in there. That then I don't get a full turkey neck cheek weld, but I thought for testing that might work. But the notch on the rail is just a little bit wider than this, and it's just like kind of it's touching it. And so that'd be another thing they could have done, is if this was made, these serrations were made a little bit narrower, and they left the slot in there for the pick rail notch that was wide enough for the pick rail to fit in there, then perhaps that would have been an option for me to go. Of course, most people, what they do is they just throw in the next size rings going up a little bit higher, and it just gets that, because the next size is probably another 1/4 inch, it's just not as clean of an installation. I want the sighting system as low to the barrel as possible. Not so much for the barrel versus sighting system, but mostly for compactness, vertical compactness for fitting into a backpack scabbard. And also it makes the rifle a little bit less tippy left and right. If you don't have as much leverage, if you have your optic way up here, it tends to want to roll the rifle over a little bit. So anyway, that's where I'm at. So probably by the time you see me next time, I'll be shooting this optic on here, and I'll have ground out those two notches, made them a little concave dip in them, scallop them. Well, that didn't go well. I took the Bushnell, the R5, out to the range to get sighted in with my Victor Faxon 1022. And when I got to the range, I went to the 25-yard range, but I went to the 12.5-yard spot just to check, make sure I was on paper. I wasn't. So I moved into closer, and about 6 yards, fired some shots, and it was really low. So dialed in a bunch of elevation, shot again, it's closer. Dialed in a bunch more, went back to 12.5 yards. At least it was on paper. Brought it up a whole bunch more and went back to 25 yards, and still was right at the like a 20-minute of angle low. So brought it up a whole bunch, and ended up all the way maxed out. And even with the turret maxed out, the elevation turret completely maxed out, I was still 4 minutes of angle low from where I wanted to be. So at that point, I was either the scope was fucked up, or or there's something wrong with my barrel to receiver connection. It's all out of whack or something. But so anyway, I called Bushnell. I told him, I think your scope's bad, and they're sending me another one. But I'm gonna just turn around and sell that one, new in the box, unopened. And went into Sportsman's. They had the Vortex. It's a 4-16. It's the HSLR. They had it on sale, and plus I just happened to have received a 15% off coupon, so I got it for really, I thought it was a pretty good price, just a little over $300. So and it's pretty decent glass. It's not like the PST was that we had, the Viper PST, but pretty good glass. And the turrets are awesome. I mean, that's huge. Very tactile, very audible, awesome turrets. Comes with a sunshade. I had some old Monstrum mounts, and got it mounted up. Get the proper eye relief to turkey neck cheek weld. I had to, with this forward mount, I had to come off, basically missing a piece of rail there. I need another slot on the rail to really accommodate that. But that's a really wide mount, so I think I'm okay with that. And then of course these are just 30mm Monstrum mounts that I had in storage somewhere. I don't think I'd ever even used them. Not sure why I had them. But anyway, they're nice and low. I did have to, like I started before with the Bushnell, I had to basically scalloped all of the slots or the tabs back here underneath the eyepiece, and that I did that for the Bushnell. I was kind of really upset after the Bushnell didn't work out. I was like, I ground these all down, but it turns out that with this rifle, that's kind of the reason I went and bought this also, was to basically make use of all that, the scallops I created there. So the scope mount's really low. These are low rings. I think they're, 8/10 of an inch from center to top of ring. So they're pretty low. And see, I've just got clearance here for my objective, and just good clearance for the eyepiece and the magnification dial. So anyway, I took this out today a little bit, concerned. I thought I'm going to get out there and find out I don't have the elevation adjustment I need on this one, and then I'm going to owe Bushnell an apology. Well, it turns out I don't. It took very little elevation change on this to get me on paper and getting it dialed in, and I still got. This has markings so you can basically keep track of how many revolutions you are past your zero. So it's easy to get all the way back and back to zero. So you got little slots that are marks there for rotations of the turret. So I do have this one set back to where it's the zero stop is on there, and I've also got has a zero stop basically on this. This you pull out and rotate it to put your zero on the mark there once you got it dialed to zero. And then this one, the elevation turret, there's 3 screws, reset screws. You take carefully lift the cap straight off, and then you rotate it to however you need it to get the zero lined up, and then push it back down. And there is some little spacers you can use, so that it basically, if you're having to raise it up kind of high, which I didn't have to use any spacers, and it comes back and I go all the way back, and then it bottoms, and then just come back to my zero. And so I didn't need to use any spacers to basically create a stop. But if you had to come up a whole bunch or had to raise your elevation a bunch to get your zero, then you could use some spacers so you could have a stop to come back to, and then come back to. It's kind of cool. You got this little, not only do you have the, of course, your zero, it says the numerical zero there, but you also have a little fiber optic piece there. So it's easy to, look from your eyepiece and see that and know, kind of a quick verification. I'm on my zero. And then you also have a little piece of fiber optic there. But anyway, this rifle shot with this optic, it shot pretty freaking awesome. I scored. Was putting using my zero targets from Right and Rain. Put them all within about a half an inch. And they did a Project Appleseed AQT, scored a 236, which is pretty good. But I was still making adjustments, tweaking the zeros a little bit. I did go to the 50-yard range to actually create the zero there, because they have in the manual what they call their dead hold BDC, bullet drop compensator. They have a section here for 22 LR rimfire rifles. And so basically, if you zero to 50, you can figure the first hash mark is going to be at 60 yards. Second hash mark is 90. Third hash mark is 120, and the top of the bottom post is 140 yards. So yeah, that's kind of a good starting point. You have to check those different ranges out, but I do have a 0 to 50. Came back and checked my 0 at 25. No, it's pretty much dead on. So that was kind of cool because I actually thought I had a 0 to 25 and I went to 50. Had to bring it up a little bit and shift the point of impact to the right a little bit. And when I got back to 25, it was on, I guess, better than it was before. So anyway, that's where my Rimfire known distance rifle is at now. I've got just made it even heavier. We've got, of course, the Faxon bull barrel, and which is like 3 pounds up in its own. We've got the Victor Company Titan 22 precision stock, which I think is just a little over 2 pounds. So it's I would, if I were doing it again, I would definitely go with the Victor Precision 22 Titan stock, but I would probably go with not the bull barrel, but with the more medium profile barrel. That would save me 1.5 pounds. And then I think this thing's not too heavy. It's not illuminated, so it's not as heavy as a lot of other optics, like that Bushnell was. It was a fairly heavy optic. I did have to add one spacer to my cheek riser to get proper eye alignment with the 30 millimeter scope. But so anyway, did really well. Got let me see, just a quick rundown. Starting from tip to stern, we've got the JL billet brake, which is really for 5.56. I just put it on there because it looks cool and protects the muzzle. We've got, of course, the Faxon match grade barrel, and then we've got the Faxon bolt, Faxon receiver with my modifications to the pick rail. That is an integral pick rail. We have the Kid charging handle, really nice charging handle. It's really smooth. We have the Kid trigger kit. We're on a Ruger trigger, so it's the Kid trigger, really nice trigger. Of course, the Victor Titan 22 precision rifle with the cheek riser. We have a standard GI canvas sling so I can use it as a loop sling or a hasty sling. Something I am having an issue with is this thing doesn't stay attached here. These rear QDs. So I have to replace those. It's just they're not staying in there. It's not that it's not clicking in. It's just not staying. I tried switching to this side. And it doesn't lock in either. But the ones in front, which I haven't used very much, they still work. The one on the bottom on the mini pick rail from Victor Company, that one's still good. And I really like that one. It's got a stop in it. So if I either need to replace the QDs back here or go to the old school sling swivel back here. Something else I did have to do is on this recoil pad. It basically the rubbery part came off of the plastic part, and so I re-glued that and reattached that. And so I've used it pretty good today. Getting the butt down to the ground as I lever myself into position, and so that's holding up good now that I re-glued it. So pretty cool setup. It's a heavy rifle for a 10-22, but it's pretty good. We'll have to take it out and have to run a little shootout with the Tikka T1X because that's my dead to nuts, super accurate 22 rifle, and that's in a stock Tikka stock, standard Tikka stock, but with the vertical grip on it. And right now it's just running a Weaver V3 maximum 1 to 3 power scope. So at some point I might have to try moving this scope over to the Tikka just to see which one does the scope the best justice. That's Mark Laughlin speaking for the Ambidextrous Gunfighter. Please like, share, and subscribe. I have some more data here on the Rimfire KD build.